Right, hello, welcome back to part 3 of this piece. We are today going to put the second coat of the copper paint or slip onto the piece and then work some magic and put the acid on top whilst the paint is still wet. Now, I don't want to appear to be the health and safety guru. I can't give you a definitive name for the acid because I haven't read the bottle. I don't know what the strength of the acid is. It's kind of irrelevant. I will be wearing gloves just to protect myself. I smoke a dum-dum, you know, one of these plastic vape things, so I don't want to be having acid on my hands going to mouth. Simple as that, really. You do as you please. That's what I'm going to be doing. I probably should have been wearing gloves with all the painting. Somebody from health and safety would say you should have done that, and you're quite right, but that's just me. Right, so the plan for today is to get this second coat on. Whilst it's still wet, get the acid on, and then I'm going to leave it alone and let the acid do its thing. So because we're in a nice warm workshop, I'm probably going to do a section at a time and then put the acid on, and then do another section and put the acid on, and probably, because I'm reaching over, I'm going to leave the rim till last, and that because I've got it in the position now where I can walk all the way around it, I haven't got to keep moving it, so I will probably leave the rim till last. So do the centers, all the natural edging, and then the outer rim natural edging last, just purely so I'm not reaching over acid. And that will be it for a while. I suspect that acid will have to sit on there probably until tomorrow morning, and then if I'm happy with how it looks tomorrow morning and it's dry, I will put the protective barrier on it, and then that'll have to wait for another day for it to dry and harden before I go to sanding any excess off and start thinking about the ebonizing and the carving on these two bands. So as I said in previous videos, it's a mountain of work to do this process, but you might be pleasantly surprised at the results. So, because I think they're worth it. Anyway, I'm waffling, so I'm going to get gloved up and probably move the camera. I'll probably put it on time lapse because painting's painting and watching paint dry is watching paint dry. It's kind of boring, isn't it? But what may happen, if you look closely during the video, you may see the colour change. And it may start to go green whilst on the video. That's how fast the reaction can be with this stuff. So if you see me working on a specific area and then I move to another area, keep half an eye on the previous area, because you may start to see it change colour over the course of the video. Let's go from there, right? Right, gloves, here we go. So I've had a bit of a break. My neighbour next door came in and he likes his radio on when he's in there. He's never in there very long, and then he does what he needs to do and then he clears off again. But while he's got his radio on, I feel that I don't want to record because I don't want to get caught for copyright infringement on these videos. So I've had a bit of a break. As you can see, we finished all the aciding, and I've touched up some areas since stopping just because there wasn't much of a reaction there, so I've put a little bit more acid on. What I've also done is I got the old Sharpie out, and having the Sharpie on an angle, I've gone round the edge of the bands where I'm going to be carving later on. just to highlight the lines of the bands so that I've got a perimeter that I got to carve in. Now in doing that, I've discovered I've missed a load of areas. So there, if you can see in this video, I'm not sure if the video will, or the camera will pick it up, but there are some extra red bits here. That's because I've gone in and I've undercoated those ready to restart the process in these areas. Bound to happen, such a huge expanse of timber, it all looks the bloody same when you look at it long enough. So I'm bound to have missed some bits of, and basically it's just ripping out where the areas of rot are, and where the turning chisels just caught it and ripped it out a bit. So I'm going to highlight those areas by doing this aciding process. So there are, around the beads, there are some areas that are red because that's the undercoat. There are pools in the really low points of acid still wet in this. Now, it's only been a couple of hours since I did it, so I'm expecting to have to leave this overnight for those pools to fully dry out. It might be that I can come back later today, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It is quite warm in the workshop, so it might be that they will evaporate and dry out within the next 3 or 4 hours, and then I can do it today. We'll have to wait and see. The undercoat, as we know, doesn't take that long to dry, so again, because it's a warm workshop. So basically, that's pretty much all I can do at the moment. If I can come back to it today, I will do, and obviously put the video on. If not, it'll be tomorrow now before I can do anything. So lots of other things to do in the workshop, but obviously I'm in a single room workshop. So having this wet now means I cannot turn in the workshop today or do anything too dusty. So just causes me a few problems. You have to plan this. I've got some other pieces I need to oil. I have some other pieces that I need to mount hanging brackets and whatnot on. So I've got plenty to do today without having to get onto the lathe. But you've got to bear that in mind doing projects like this. I kind of work myself into like a production style of working where I have a dedicated day that I do all the oiling and then leave the workshop alone for a day or two while that's drying, depending on the time of year. But doing something like this, it is time consuming, as I keep saying. I'm sounding like a broken record, I know, but you've got to plan what you're going to do in the downtime. In the time I can't work on this now, you know, the workshop's here to earn money. It's not here as a hobby. This is my business, so I plan my time wisely. I try to, and don't stop. So in the break, while my neighbour was here, I've cut and sorted out a base for that bur oak with the with this on it that you saw in the previous video, and that is now ebonizing. That's all sorted. So now I'm going to go off and I'm going to hang some pieces or prep them for hanging, and not much else I can do really. As I say, I can't have any dust now in the workshop until all this is dry. So I'll come back to you either later today or tomorrow. Morning guys. Well, needless to say, it didn't dry yesterday, so I'm back in today. Today is going to be mostly sanding and ebonizing and carving on these two pieces here. It's going to be quite long-winded, I think. There's a lot of excess to take off and a lot of carving to do. So, best thing to do is to sup up and crack on with it. You probably can hear the rain. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it is absolutely chucking it down today. Cats and dogs it is. Raining cats and dogs. So we're in the best place. Let's crack on. Right, so the worst of the sanding's been done, and I've done that to 120 grit. And what I'm going to do now, obviously in the sanding, I've got rid of some of my black pencil lines, sorry, black pen lines with the old Sharpie. So I'm just going to go over with the pen at an angle and reinstate those areas where I've lost the pen mark. And it's really just to help me have a visual of where I'm carving, and then later I can use that pen line to ebonize up to. Just makes life a little easier for me. So literally just rubbing the pen on its side so that the tip is just over the edge, the lip that I want to mark. Probably teaching you all to suck eggs at this point, but there you go. Come on, get on that line. Now carving, I'm going to do it on this piece with the Dremel. I've got a aluminium cutting burr on the Dremel. What I'm going to do is, in this small band, I'm going to do some lines, and then probably some dots, some concave dots on the bigger one, just for give it something, two different textures. That's what I'm after. Now we've got no fixed center point on this, because obviously it's the front and there is no marking for the center point. So I'm going to guess it. I'm going to use a pot of paint and put that to where I think the center is. All right. Now, because you're at an angle on the camera, it won't look right probably, but to me, it looks right. So what I'm going to do is, using that as a center, I can then go around aiming for that bottle of paint and just drag some lines all the way around, constantly aiming for the center of that bottle of paint. Being careful not to carve any of the copper or the verdigris away. So obviously I want to keep all of that. So take it slow. I'll put it on time lapse again because these videos are quite long. So that's what I'm going to do first, and then we'll look at the other band. Right, slight change of plan. The aluminium cutter that I had in the Dremel wasn't man enough. So there it is there, look. I don't know if that's going to focus on that. Yeah, there you go. So it was just protruding too much from the rotary tool that I got here, slash Dremel. So I've put it, oops, I kicked the bucket, there you go. So I've put this one in now. And actually, I've had a go with it, and it's a lot more rudimentary, basic carving. So it's in keeping with the timescale that I want this battle shield to sit in. So naive carving, I suppose, is the way to put it. But it's very simple and misshaped. But overall, I think it's going to be in keeping. So I'm going to go with this and hope for the best. Right, so we've done all the carving, and what I've also done as you saw in the previous bit of video, is I've sealed it. I've put the top coat, level 4 of the process here. I've put that on to seal the verdigris in. There's some excess on there because where the verdigris is obviously shallower than the surface of the piece, so the brush doesn't want to go fully into those holes without working it in, so there is excess on. So the next stage is to sand all of that off and sand the whole piece now down to 240, which is what I'm going to do next. Once I've done that, the whole piece except these two bands can be oiled. As I said previously in another video, I'm going to use the Osmo oil, the exterior grade one, which is UV protecting, so the sun won't bleach the grain colour. So that's next. Sanding and oiling. So back onto the time lapse, I'm afraid, for this bit. So we've just put the oil on the piece, and what I'm going to do, while it's still fresh on there, I'm going to get an old tea towel, fold it up so it's good in my hand, and then with the grain, I'm going to give it a full wipe over, going with the grain as much as I can, and this is going to get rid of any excess oil on the surface. Try and keep it going with the grain. And that should take off all your excess oil. If it was still mounted on the lathe, we'd be able to get the mop on the drill onto it, but of course we can't do that now. So this is a good way of getting rid of all that excess. We get the middle too. Okay, so we're left with just the two bands. Now they need to be ebonised, but I can't do that while the oil is wet. So now we've got to leave it overnight again, yet again, to allow that oil to dry. And once it's dry, we can come back in, ebonise both those bands. The ebonising process will probably take 3, maybe 4 or 5 coats, depending on how it takes it in. And then those pieces have got to be oiled as well. It may turn out that I've got to put a second coat on this. Some places I can already see as that oil's gone right in deep already. So it may be I've got to do a full coat of oil over the top. We'll just have to wait and see. So that's another video, isn't it? We better not go on too long, otherwise you lot will get bored. So maybe we'll end it there, and we'll have to do video 4 in the ebonising. I hope you're all well. Stay safe out there, guys. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care.